Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is my game number 3 between Monchi and Dimaga, played in the GIGABYTE Cup. If you missed it in the last game that was played on Shakuras Plateau, I started watching these guys and I really want to cast their series, but I didn't realize until I'd already casted the first game that I was doing the series out of order. So I'm just going to call this game number 3. It may or may not have been. I just don't want to spoil anything for you guys. But we have here the map Crevasse. Almost said the wrong name. But GSL Crevasse. In the top right-hand corner, we have MTW's Dimaga, our red Zerg player. And in the bottom left-hand corner, our green Protoss player, Monchi. Now this is the third game in their series. They're tied up 1-1. Monchi taking the first game on Tal'Darim Altar, and Dimaga having the last on Shakuras Plateau. So far, I've really liked both of these guys' play. I really feel that Monchi could focus on his unit positioning a little bit more. You saw that Dimaga was able to get an amazing surround in the last game, and there was just nothing Monchi could do. He just didn't have good enough positioning to deal with Dimaga's army. But this map is huge. I really think that Monchi's going to have an easy time defending this third base. Even though it has a huge surface area, I think the map's just so long that there's nothing Dimaga can really do to punish it. And unlike the last two games, this game we actually see Dimaga going for hatchery first, just because with this back expansion, it's so safe. It has its 6 mineral patches and only 1 rich Vespene gas geyser. That's different than a normal Vespene gas geyser. I believe you get 6 gas per trip instead of 4. So he's taking this base. He feels completely safe. He's still not getting his gas geysers. Dimaga really does not like getting that early Zergling speed. And once again, we see Monchi getting his Forge before Nexus. I really wish he would get his Nexus before the Forge, especially on a map like this, when even if Dimaga 6-pooled, Monchi could still be walled in before the Zerglings would get to his base. It's just such a huge map. But Monchi seems to be learning from the past. He's keeping this probe here to deny a third base from Dimaga. But has Dimaga actually seen... Dimaga has not seen Monchi's base, so he doesn't know that he actually went for this Forge expansion. But I think it's pretty safe to assume it seems like Monchi really likes that expansion. And really, I find it's the best way to play Protoss versus Zerg. If you're going for some sort of Sentry expansion, you don't really power your economy enough. So, like I said before, this is the map GSL Crevasse, which is used mostly in the GSL, the Korean tournament, casted by the always wonderful Tastedosis. So I highly recommend that any of you guys who don't know what I'm talking about, just go to gomtv.net and watch some games. It's really cheap for the highest quality there is, and Tasteless and Artosis are the 2 best commentators in the world. And I really think that the Code 8 commentators, Doa, Moltrap, and Wolf, I think they're pretty good. They're getting a lot better, and if you watch the old videos of Tasteless casting by himself, he was good, but he wasn't as good as he is now. Everyone just needs a little bit of time. So I think people should really ease up on the hate they're giving Doa, Wolf, and Moltrap, because they're getting better, and I think they're going to be really good someday. But back into this game, we have Monchi. He's getting up 3 gases. This is really fast 3 gas, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him get lots of sentries this game. He's not getting his Warp Gate research, and there's no reason for that. Maybe he forgot it. Oh, okay, no, he did not forget his Warp Gate. He's getting out 2 Stargates. This is really interesting. I think it might be Phoenix. This is a huge map, so Void Rays wouldn't be all too good, but I would really like to see some Phoenix coming out of here. And Dimaga has an Overlord that sees one of the Stargates. If he can see the other one, that'll be huge. We'll have to keep an eye on this Overlord to see if he ever pokes in there. But this is a good job by Monchi, just destroying or killing that little scouting Zergling. Dimaga he's so far away, and if he wants to replace that Zergling, it's going to take him so long. But as we can see here, Dimaga's getting a fast layer, the same way he did in that Tal'Darim Altar match. He's getting his Roach Warren, that's once again going to coincide with the finishing of the layer, and he's getting a single evolution chamber this game, rather than two, which it can be a good decision, and he's spreading his creep, which he didn't do at all in the Shakuras Plateau game, so I really like seeing this creep spread, especially when the third base is so close, but it's also so far. It's really going to help against the Void Rays that are coming out of here. Now, this is interesting to see really strong Void Rays. I've seen OGS MC do things like this, but it's always been in closer positions. Cross map, I really think Phoenixes would be better than these Void Rays. But we'll see. We'll see. Monchi's being tricky. Oh, I think he's gonna go out and he's gonna kill this Overlord with his one Void Ray, and he's only showing the one Void Ray. That's a really smart play. He's gonna send this other Void Ray the other way, which I don't really like, because if there were another Overlord over here, he would see it. But it looks like the Overseer is gonna see the second Stargate anyway, and now Dimaga knows. So let's see what his reaction is. He's seen two Stargates, so he's starting to get some Hydralisks. I really think he needs, well, first of all, to be spawning his larva, and he also needs some Spore Crawlers, and I would really get some extra Queens if I were him. We see him starting Spore Crawlers now in his... Oh, this is pretty tricky by Monchi. He sent his Void Ray down, so Dimaga's only getting Spore Crawlers at his third, or his natural. Okay, now he's getting some at his third base too. So I think, yeah, Dimaga will definitely be able to hold this, especially with all the Hydralisks and Infestors he's able to produce. I really like this Infestor play coming from Dimaga. On such a long map against such powerful units like Void Rays, Infestors are really a good way to go, because you can use them to defend, but it's easier to defend because it's just such a huge map. And yeah, these Void Rays don't really look like they're going to accomplish much of anything. They're putting a lot of pressure on Dimaga, and they forced a lot of Spore Crawlers, so that was good. And now we see Monchi once again getting up this Nexus with 3 more Gateways. I think that's something really important that any and all Protoss players, I know I will definitely take from this series. When you get your third base up, just put 3 Gateways down there. You can use them to help wall, you can put cannons behind them, and then it really brings you the production that you need. But these 6 Void Rays, they're gonna get fungled, and they're gonna be taken out by all of the Hydras. This is huge. He just lost 3 Void Rays. The Void Rays, 250 minerals, 150 gas. So that's 750 minerals and 450 gas that he just lost to that one fungal. It was really nice play by Dimaga. I really like him I like to see him using these Infestors. And he's getting his double upgrades going. Once again, he's getting his ranged attack upgrades. So he's not going to be going for Zerglings this game. He's going to be going for his Roach Hydra composition again. But this time he has Infestors, so it's much more powerful. And I really like to see these Infestors. And he's getting a Macro Hatch. I don't really remember seeing a Macro Hatch before. I think he got one on Shakuras Plateau, but I'm not sure. This Macro Hatch is really going to be good for him. He's getting his Groove Spines. And I like this play from Monchi. He's getting a Robotics Bay, which we haven't seen in the other 2 games. So you might wonder, why did he choose to get it this game? Well, I think he chose to get it this game because of the Infestors he saw. This was played after the 1.4 patch, so Infestors, their fungal growth still affects massive units, but it has a much shorter range, is what I'm trying to say. It has a much shorter range, so instead of 9, it's 7. So that means it's a lot easier for Blink Stalkers or even Colossus to target down the Infestors. And with this Infestor Hydra combination that Dimaga's getting without any Roaches, he's just gonna, and with Zerglings especially, he's just gonna evaporate to Colossus. Those are the big scary units that shoot the laser beams. Colossus. Anyway, I like this by Monchi. He's just leaving his Void Rays patrolling around the map. He only has 3 of them now, but, you know, they can still accomplish anything. And I really agree with Monchi's play, again, because he has 2 Robotics Facility Colossus. 1 Robotics Facility Colossus just isn't really enough. I find that if you're going to get Colossus, you need 2 Robotics Facilities. pretty much no matter what matchup it is. Well, actually, never mind. Not in PvP. In PvP, you can never afford 2 robotics facilities. Now we see a 4th base coming up for Dimaga again, but he's got Zerglings and Hydralisks and Infestors, and I would say that all 3 of those units are really well countered by Colossus. So I would be very surprised if Dimaga won this game, actually. Just looking at the unit compositions, it seems to me that Monchi is just too strong. And it looks like Dimaga's gonna try to bust him. This is a really forward position he has here, and there's just absolutely no way he can attack down into this. If he does, I'm certain he will lose all of his units. And he's going, and the force fields are almost celebratory here. He doesn't really even need them. Dimaga's spawning a lot of infested Terran. They're gonna take down this one Colossus, but up at the top of the field, there's just so many units for Monchi, and Dimaga's doing better than I thought he would with all of his infested Terrans, but Monchi just has so many Colossus, and Colossus perfectly countered every unit that Dimaga had here, that really Dimaga he kind of just threw his units away. Now Monchi's on 3 base to 4 base, and oh, he lost all of his Void Rays, I believe. Yeah, that was his last Void Ray. Monchi really doesn't have very many units, but he doesn't need very many units. Dimaga just lost all of his units except for these Infestors. He kept the Infestors alive. That's a really important point I want all you Zerg players to notice. But, like I said earlier, I believe in the last match, tech switching is one of the things that Protoss players have difficulty with against Zerg players. So I really wish that Dimaga had started the Spire before the attack, so that as soon as the attack ended, he could mass Mutalisks, or he could tech towards Broodlords, because now he's just getting the exact same units that are still... He's getting Roaches this time, which are better against Colossus, but his units still are really countered by Colossus, and he's just now researching Neural Parasite, so he's really weak to these Colossus. Even though I said Colossus are better against Neural Parasite than they used to be, if you have so many Infestors, you have to have this Neural Parasite. Otherwise, there's no way you can defeat these Colossus. So I'm really nervous here for Dimaga. Like I said, I really think he should have had more tech paths available before the attack, and then he should have moved in. But in Dimaga's defense, he's doing a much better job of upgrading this game. He has his 2-2 for attack and carapace already done, and now he's getting his +2 for melee. I really wish he would get a hive now, because he already has his infestation pit, and he can't get a hive because he doesn't really have the gas for it. But if he had gotten just a couple less infestors, he could have a hive, and he could have his 3-3 upgrades going, and maybe even some Broodlords. And now we see he's getting lots of Corruptors, because that's the only thing he can really get to counter the Colossus. But I still feel that Monchi's going to have a huge advantage. We'll have to see. It'll probably come down to micro, but it's 4 base versus 4 base, and I think if Dimaga tries to expand again, Monchi will just go and attack that base, and there won't really be... Dimaga won't really be able to defend Monchi. I think our green Protoss players got this game pretty secure. He's getting a fleet beacon. That's interesting. I've recently been seeing a lot of Mothership versus Zerg, and I absolutely love it. Motherships they give you the ability to vortex a lot of Zerg units, and then Zerg players, they don't want to fight with half of their army, so they run all their army into that vortex. And then when the vortex runs out, they're all in a clump. Against a Protoss army, Zerg units need to have a good concave. They have to be flanking the Protoss. So if you vortex them, they end up all in that big bunch. But now it looks like we're going to have a big engagement. Monchi's blinking his Stalkers down to target down the Corruptors. And we see lots and lots of infested Terran coming out here from Dimaga. I don't like the Colossus positioning. They're all going to be taken out by these Corruptors, and the Infestors are neural parasiting the Colossus. And this battle looks like it's actually going pretty well for Dimaga. It looks like all of the Colossus are going to go down to these Corruptors, and the Stalkers are just going to melt to all of the infested Terrans. Monchi should really run away from this battle, because there's no way the infested Terrans can chase. And that battle actually went much better for Dimaga than I really thought it would. I'm impressed with with the way he was able to hold that. A lot of it really came down to his great Corruptor positioning, because there was nothing the Stalkers could really do to target the Corruptors, and they had such a nice area where they could just snipe out the Colossus. And now that he really has 15 Corruptors, that's just so many that the Colossus are falling so quickly. Sorry guys, I'm a little sick here. But I still wanted to cast this game because it's so full of action. Now we see Dimaga's got these 3 more expansions up. He's up to 7 bases once he gets these saturated with drones. And I really think he's going to be in a good position. But this, I think, is the... wherever it's being constructed. The mothership right here, I think, is the big key for this game. But Monchi just wasn't really changing his tech fast enough, and it looks like all of his Colossus are going to go down to these Corruptors. And I don't know if he can hold this. All these infested Terrans are going to come out, and then there are roaches against the Zealots. Monchi got a little bit of a flank, but there are so many infested Terran. But Dimaga's going to lose all of his infestors. That's a really big part of this. And once all those infested Terrans go away, Monchi's going to be able to warp in just enough units to defend this pretty easily. So now it looks like these players are just taking turns throwing armies at each other and losing them. However, Dimaga did manage to keep all of his Corruptors alive, and now he's morphing a Greater Spire. So he's going to be able to turn half of his Corruptors into Broodlords and then save some in case Monchi decides to start getting some Void Rays out again. I'm really thinking that Dimaga is in a strong position for this game now. Monchi had a really strong unit composition, but then after that battle, he didn't really change his tech, and then he just got countered by the units Dimaga had, and now it's not looking good for Monchi. He's still making Colossus, Stalkers, and Zealots, even though his opponent's composition is much better against that now. Once he gets these Broodlords out, there's nothing that the Colossus are going to be able to do. But this mothership could be really influential in holding off Dimaga's push. The only thing Monchi needs is for Dimaga to wait until he has that 100 energy, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Dimaga's pushing in right now, but he doesn't have any Overseers. Without Overseers, he's not going to be able to see any of these units, and he's not going to be able to win. So I think Monchi is actually going to get just enough time to get his 100 energy, and now he's pushing out before he has enough energy for a Vortex, and he blinked all of his Stalkers forward ahead of the Zealots, and now they're getting surrounded by Zerglings. This battle is not going well for Monchi. But the mothership has just so much health that the Corruptors are focusing all their fire on it, and it looks like there aren't enough Corruptors, but there are Broodlords in the back. The Broodlords are really what's going to help him. Dimaga's going to have a hard time killing all the Colossus because he lost so many Corruptors, but the Broodlords are going to make the Stalkers useless, and Monchi's forced to leave the game just because he has no way of dealing with those Broodlords. If you look at the supply, Dimaga was 80 supply ahead. That was a close game. It was full of good unit composition at first by the Protoss, and then after Dimaga defended a little bit and got his 7 bases up, then he decided that he would get the good unit composition against what Monchi had, and Monchi just wouldn't change his tech. So this is a good game. This is a good game. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on game number 4 now. The series is 2-1 in Dimaga's favor. Let's see who wins.